Hey guys, here is another great online resource that I used a lot in my classroom last year. So this resource is called epic.com, and this is an online interactive book resource for students. So I have already logged in, and this is my educator homepage. So it says, "Good afternoon, Miss Taylor," and it gives me different options to look at. Here is some news. So it's kind of like set up like a Facebook like news feed. So it shows you like different books that are coming up. So like Celebrate Hispanic Heritage. Here it'll give you a collection of all these different books. If you were to click on that, it would take you to that library. So you can see that there are, it says 48 books, ages 4 to 10. So many different resources. Some of them are read to me options, and I'll get into that in just a moment, what that means. So lots of great online resources. So if I go back to home, that's my account. I have already added in my class roster, but once you first start this resource, you can go in and you add your different students. This is my class from last year. So if you need to add a student or to edit the group, you could do that as well. So here, what I want to show you is some options. So here up at the top, you will have some different options. I'm just going to go to Explore, because here it's going to give you all the different books that are new and happening in Epic right now. Oops. Sorry about that. Okay, so here we have the Explore page. Here you will notice different options to click on. So if you clicked on comics, it would pop up some popular comics that your student could click on. So let's say you have a student who's really into the Smurfs. They could click on the Smurfs, and here at the beginning it gives an overview. It's 15 to 30 minutes long, 6 to 8 is the age range. And something that's really cool about this resource is the students click on the right-hand side of the page, just like you would if you were flipping the pages in a book. And this option is not a read to me option, which means the students will have to read the story themselves. It does look like, okay, so sometimes if you click on a word, it'll give you the definition. Here it does not. So we'll find a different one for an example for that. So the student can go along. They can zoom in if they need to because it's kind of small, and they can read the comic, and they can look at it as many times as they want. They can zoom back out, and they can keep flipping the page. Now let's say the student gets all the way to the end of the book. Okay, so I'm flipping. So I get to the very end. Here it gives us different options. It recommends different books for us to read next. So we can say that we finished this book. Oh, and it gives us, this is interesting too. I haven't come across this yet. So because I flipped through the book really quickly, I'm not able to click on finish book yet because it says you'll need to read a little longer to be able to complete this book. So that's cool because it recognizes that there is no way that I could have read that book in the amount of time that I clicked through those pages. So the student will have to go back and read the pages and look through the pages some more. Let's say I am just like completely just done with that book. What I can do is, let's say I loved that book. I can go ahead and I can favorite it. So what that does is it saves it to my library if I click on the heart. I can go through and I can organize it if I want. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it. I'm not going to click on a collection. Or actually, I could create one if I wanted to. So I could say comic book, and I could add that to my collection, and I could say create, and it has now saved the Smurfs comic book to my comic book library. Great. So now it's time for me to read a new book. So I'm going to come up to the top here, and there is an X. I'm so sorry, you guys can't see it. But on this blue type bar over here, just right outside the Screencast-O-Matic box, there's an X. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to take me back to Explore. What I want to show you is the Read to Me books. So these, anytime that there's a Read to Me option at the bottom, you can go ahead and you can click on the book. So for example, actually let's do this one. Love this book, by the way. Pete the Cat Rockin' in My School Shoes. So I'm going to go ahead.
Pete the Cat Rockin' in My School Shoes. Story by Eric Litwin, a.k.a. Mr. Eric. Art by James Dean. Performed by the author, Eric Litwin. Here comes Pete, strolling down the street, rocking red shoes on his 4 furry feet. Pete is going to school, and he sings this song. I'm rocking in my school shoes. I'm rocking in my school shoes. I'm rocking in my school shoes. Pete is sitting at his desk when his teacher says, "Come on, Pete, down that hall to a room with books on every wall." Where is Pete going?
The library!
Pete has never been to the library before. Does Pete worry?
Goodness, no!
He finds his favorite.
Okay, hey guys, sorry. I was going to show you where at the bottom of the screen you could click and pause that video, but it was just outside that screencast-o-matic box once again, and so I couldn't get to it. But I encourage you to get on and explore yourself, and you will see that pause button and what I'm talking about. So the books that are the Read to Me books have the option to be paused, which is great. So let's say a student is reading something, or the book's reading to the student, and they want to pause it and they want to go back and listen to it again, or they just need to pause it for whatever reason. So as you can see, there's so many options in so many different categories for the student to explore. Like, the possibilities are endless. I love this resource. I would put this resource at our iPad station when we did center time, and they could get on Epic during their center time and look through different books. Another option that we have is audiobooks, and what happens with this is that the book itself is just a book that you can listen to. So as audiobooks are in nature, you listen to the book, but you don't have a visual to go along with the book, just like the Read to Me. So my kids loved the Goosebumps. They were all about it. So here's that pause button I was talking about. You will have this option on the Read to Me books, but that's going to be down here in the corner out of sight where you can't really see. So you can go ahead and you can skip a little bit if you want.
By R.L. Stine, read by Charlie McWade. Chapter 1. My name is Matt Daniels, and my terrifying story began on a typical morning. In my house, typical means totally annoying, because who showed up just as my sister Livy and I...
Okay, so I'm going to close out of that again and go back. There are video options. I personally did not tell my kids that there was these options because I wanted them to be utilizing the book resources rather than seeing the videos. However, towards the end of the year, so when I first introduced it, I didn't tell them about these videos at all. Obviously, you're going to have some kids that are going to figure it out. You're just going to want to redirect them and say, okay, no, we're going to be reading books. We're not looking at videos. Towards the end of the year, however, during our computer lab time, that was kind of like our free time to kind of play around with different online resources. I did open up these videos as an option because there are some really good ones. Like this one is 5 essential speed drills. There is how to juggle, okay? So like there's arts and craft ones as well, like popular learning videos. So there are some really good educational resource videos on here. Some of them are for just for fun. Some of them are for are instructional videos. So it just kind of depends. Here you can, as you can see, they sort it by grade level. So you can go to see by grade level what might be recommended for the different grades. Here's how to build a Lego structure. So there's all these different resources. So I encourage you at some point to let your kids check this out. I just might not make this an option to begin with. There is an option for AR. Now, my school did not do AR. However, you can choose these different options. So the Lexile, the AR, none or others. So you can, if let's say you want to explore by AR, so you click on that and it applies here. It shows you what level it is. So 0.1, 0.4, 0.5. So that's cool that it gives you that option depending on what level your school has or what options your school has. You can change those settings based on what options your school has, whether that's Lexile or AR. One more really quick option I want to show you is, let's say I go back to home. Here's my class code, by the way. That's a whole nother thing. When your students go to log in, they'll need this class code to log in. This is a web-based resource or an app-based resource. So you can get onto it using an app or via the web-based option if you would like. So once your students are in, they will have an option where they have little icons. So like Addison has this little guy with the crown on it. That's her icon. And so once she gets logged into her name, it'll show the whole class list, and then she'll click on her icon, and that's where she'll find her saved books. So let's say I'm going to go to my library, and let's say that I've assigned books to certain kids. Okay, so I can go to collections and assignments, and I can see who I've assigned what to. So for example, this one, Read to Me Nonfiction Animals, I have assigned 18 students, and I can go in and click on to see what books are in there, and then I can also see the progress that my books have made. So assign and view progress. So then I can see which kids I have assigned to that option, and these are the kids that I've assigned. Okay, so let's say I'm on Explore and I want to assign a book to a kid. So let's say I want to assign Mermaids to a student. I would go to Assign, and I can either do Select All for the whole class, or I can unselect and click one student and say Assign to Selected. So once that student goes back into their profile and logs in and they click on My Library, they're going to see the books that I have assigned to them to read. And so that's just another way to differentiate and assign books to students that you feel like could maybe choice is too much for them at this point, and they need just a little bit extra kind of, starting point, and this will just assign them a library of books and kind of help narrow down those choices so they're not overwhelmed by everything on the screen. I encourage you to check this out. My kids love it. I will say, if you want to utilize this resource at home, you can't. You have to pay for an account to use at home. So even though you might have an educator account, if I were to have one of my nephews use this account at home, I would have to pay for it. I believe it's $10 a month. But with an educator email, you can sign up for free and you can utilize this resource for free at school. Like I said, I hope you check out this resource. Enjoy. It's really great and you will not be disappointed.